What's going on, everyone? Okay, have you ever thought about what faithfulness is? If you've been to Yellowstone, maybe you visited the famous Old Faithful, a geyser that erupts up to 180 feet into the air with regularity. Unlike other geysers, these eruptions are highly predictable and have been consistent for decades. And while that's pretty cool, faithfulness might sound a little boring if it's just about doing the same thing over and over for years and years. But what if I could show you a faithfulness that would bring joy and adventure to your life? Well, let's get started. I want you to grasp the awesomeness of what faithfulness is, but we have to start with what is it? You could say it's being committed to, not giving up on, a person or activity. So what does that look like? Let me tell you about Hachiko and Shibuya train station. Hachiko would go to the train station with his owner, a professor, every day and then come back to greet him when he returned from teaching. One day, at the age of 53, his owner unexpectedly died. But Hachiko still went to the train station. The gardener decided to take care of Hachiko from then on, but every day for the next 9 years until he died, Hachiko went to the train station, faithfully waiting to see his owner again. It became such a powerful story that there's a statue of Hachiko at Shibuya Station that you can go and visit. That's faithfulness. And while that makes us feel great to have someone faithful to us, it might still seem a little sad or boring if we were like Hachiko, waiting faithfully for someone who couldn't do anything for us. Well, the faithfulness the Bible talks about is different. It's a faithfulness that is so much greater. It's not about doing things perfectly over and over again, but it's about being committed to and following God. It's about our relationship with God, and faithfulness to God doesn't have us lying down in a train station for the rest of our life. It actually sends us on adventure. Let me explain. In the animal kingdom, one of the greatest adventures animals take is called migration. Not every animal migrates, but from small insects to massive whales and all sorts of things in between, like birds and sea turtles, animals will go on an epic adventure through all sorts of obstacles, life-threatening dangers, and beautiful sights. They often travel hundreds or thousands of miles in each direction, all to find more food, a mate, or to give birth and start a family. One of the most incredible herd migrations to watch is the wildebeest migration in Africa. The wildebeest have to migrate through all sorts of predators: lions, cheetahs, jackals, hyenas, vultures, and crocodiles. There are other tough animals that aren't always nice, like hippos, who make their journey even more difficult. And beyond the intense heat and the long distance they have to travel, no matter what age they are, they have to somehow make this journey across the dangerous Mara River. During their migration, they give birth, they find food, they experience the beauty of Africa. It's a migration that many biologists say is the cornerstone of the whole ecosystem. And all of this happens because God created wildebeest with a desire to follow this migration plan. It's as if they're following the call of God in their life of when to go, where to go, and even how to get there through obstacles. And no matter how difficult or long or scary it might be, they just find a way to follow the migration. You could say that they're faithful to the call that God put into their life. There are many things that we could choose to be faithful to in our own lives. We could be faithful to a sports team and cheer for them even in the years that they lose. We could be faithful to a dream that we have to be a professional musician, or to travel the world and see all the amazing places. We could be faithful to our own desires to make ourselves happy no matter what it takes. But if your heart is faithful to a person, or a career, or a dream, or anything else instead of God most of all, then you'll get distracted from what's best. Just like the wildebeest, God created something in us that we were designed to follow, even though it's incredibly difficult. And if we wander away from what God created us for, just like a wildebeest wandering all alone, it's incredibly difficult and will cause disaster in our life. Each of us was created with a desire and a need for a deep relationship with God, and we were created to be faithful to God, even though it's not easy. It's not about doing all the right things, because we are going to make mistakes. On the path of migration, animals sometimes go the wrong way at times. They're chased off the path by a predator, or the currents are strong and push them in a certain direction, but they continue to get back on track and move towards their ultimate goal. In the same way, it's not about doing everything perfect when we follow God. It's about becoming the man or woman that God created us to be as we do our best to faithfully follow His lead. It's about desiring God and the relationship with Him above anything else. And when you're faithful to God, it will transform you. You'll show love to other people, you'll keep your word to others, and you'll do your best to use the gifts that God has given you. Faithfulness to God means doing what God says is right, even if others aren't being kind to you, because you're being faithful to God, not people. It's a long journey, and the enemy will try and attack, but it is so worth it to follow God. In fact, there's nothing else worth pursuing with your life. And though it can be tough, let me give you a verse that will encourage you and help you. 2 Chronicles 16:9 says, "For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to Him." If you are fully committed to God, He will strengthen you. And along the way, God will introduce you to more people who will become like family. And He'll give you the skills and opportunities to accomplish everything in your life that He has made you for. God loves you so much, and He knows that you're going to make mistakes along the way. But He is actually the one who is most faithful. 2 Timothy 2:13 says, "If we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny Himself." God's character remains constant, regardless of our actions or circumstances. Even if I'm unfaithful to Him, God remains faithful because it's part of His nature and His character, and He cannot deny Himself. I want to be more like Jesus, and I want to be close to Jesus in my journey, and I want that for you too. So let's be faithful to God above anything or anyone else, and in this journey, keep fueling yourself with God's love and truth.